Bonjour, dear friends, and my favorite people in the world are ambassadors. I'm so excited, so proud, and feel so privileged to be able to introduce you two of the most amazing ladies that the world has ever seen. Amazing because they are, as person, as individual, in their own way in their career, as well as for what they stand for. This has been an incredible time, unusual time, and phenomenal time to all of us give back as much as we can. You've been incredible to do so through all the different endeavors we've created for all of us to help others. This time, thanks to a great friend, the famous and fabulous, irresistible, charming, charismatic, eloquent, all heart-giving Jane Seymour and her fabulous executive director, Trina, we are able to make a difference with Jane and Trina on a variety of causes that they've been behind for many years. They've created one of the most amazing charities in the United States, being open to others. And this is, of course, the one and only Open Heart Foundation. I've had the pleasure to meet Jane many, many years ago and felt seduced like James Bond, but even more like Agent 69, and could not resist Gina and I to open our home to Jane and her incredible charity to welcome others, helping her to make a difference in the world for the people who need it. We've done just that over the last few years. This time, we've decided, as you will hear from Jane herself, to go much beyond. And remember, dear friends, Jane is an incredible actress, as you all know, a phenomenal painter, an artist, a designer, and she decides to give her time to help others as she received help throughout her life. And I think it's very important in this discussion, we're going to have Jane and, of course, Trina to tell us about what they're doing, how they're doing it, and how you, all of you great ambassadors and Wine Society members, you can make a difference. So I'm very pleased that this is the one and only, the very unique new endeavor of the whole Boisset collection to create together Jane's phenomenal idea. She's the one who actually named it Joy and Serenity, this incredible Cabernet from California that will make a difference, not only to you for your contribution, but to all the people we're going to help all across the United States and beyond. So, dear friends, now is the time to bring the eloquent, charismatic, beautiful, young, she will celebrate her birthday in a few hours, the fabulous Jane Seymour and Trina.
Hi.
Ladies,
hi, everyone. Hi, Jean-Charles. This is wonderful. What an amazing, amazing opportunity we have joining up with you. And we had this idea when I was doing my chat with you via Zoom. And I think we must have been on our third or fourth wine when we thought this would be a really good idea. And now
which
the
is
idea
amazing.
has literally come to fruition.
Absolutely, which is amazing. And I want to say that, Jane, before you develop the ideas, it's so important for all ambassadors to realize that Jane, in spite of her success, is a woman of action. We talk about something and she does it. Because there's so many people in the world, we talk about ideas and they say, maybe we'll do it, maybe in the future, and the future never comes to fruition. Jane is a lady of executive power. She makes things happen and the world vibrates, Jane, and you made it happen that day.
Well, thank you. You know, this is a dream come true for me. My mother was a sommelier in England when I was growing up, and I grew up with, you know, being able to taste amazing wines long before it was legal. And you know, I so appreciate your wines. I mean, they're just incredible. And I love going up there to Napa and Sonoma and to the wine country. And, you know, wine is a very important part of my life. And one of the reasons I wanted to call this Joy and Serenity, you may ask, why Joy and Serenity? is because my name is Jane Seymour, and I thought, what matters the most in my life? And that is joy, you know, the excitement of celebrating, of, you know, of being with friends, of celebrating things that are beautiful and delicious, and, you know, the heart and the spiritual, you know, the connection to something serene, something that brings us peace. And so I felt that really life comes down to joy and serenity, and happens to be my initials as well. And the open heart, of course, is a very important element for me. Something that I created, how many years ago now? Gosh, 15, maybe,
long time, yes.
Maybe 15, 20 years ago. I'm not sure, but the inspiration for that came from my mother. My mother survived World War II in an Indonesian, actually a Japanese camp in Indonesia, 3.5 years. And when I was growing up after the war, she used to tell my sisters and I, you know, darling, sometime in life, you will have a challenge or many challenges. And that happens to everyone. No one gets out without them. But you need to know how to handle them. And she would say to us, when you feel that the challenge is overwhelming, the hardest thing in the world to do is to accept. And once you can accept that this is your challenge, if you can open your heart and reach out in some way to uniquely help someone else who maybe is going through or is about to go through what you have just been through, so you have a unique perspective on it, this will give you purpose. And when you have purpose in life, that just fills your soul, that brings joy and serenity and happiness to you. And so that is why we call this, you know, open hearts. And really, I took this philosophy and I thought, well, if your heart is open, you know, that's one heart and you just don't close it off. And at one point I thought, well, if it's open and it connects to another heart, we came up with the image that you see behind me.
Yes.
Or as you can see in this very nice little sculpture. There are 6 of these in between America and Canada, I think, in huge, big, monumental things that people know. So this is an image that your clients will already know. They might know it through the jewelry, which we had at K Jewelers, which ended up, I think we made over $1 billion. It was the #1, it was the most successful jewelry that they ever had, I think.
Yep.
And we're about to relaunch in March on JCB. But what's the most exciting part about it is that we want people to have the joy and the serenity and the sense of purpose by realizing that they can give back and they can help others. And that's where you come in, because with wine and with putting together events, you know, to raise money for whatever organization you have locally, you get people together and they feel really good about it. You know, it's a really good reason for a party. And you will not only be benefiting the Open Heart Foundation, which Trina will tell you a bit more about in a minute.
Sure.
But you'll also be benefiting whatever organization that you choose to do. But it is a philosophy, and our organization is not just about raising money and giving it out to all the organizations that we fund, but it's also about a mindset. It's also encouraging people to not feel, especially in the days we're in right now, of like, oh, I can't, you know, nothing good is happening, the world's coming to an end and all of that. No, you can find joy and serenity in the present moment, and connection is everything, whether it's by Zoom or finally we can actually, you know, touch, feel, hug and eat and drink together. We're realizing when we've been separate how important it is to connect. So this is a connector. This is your opportunity to connect with new people. You know, you can tell my story. They can read my story. They can, artwork, scarves. Jean-Charles has one of these. We've just even come out with these beautiful scarves. So if you go to janeseymour.com, you'll be able to see all the other kind of things we do. But it's all connected to the Open Hearts Foundation. So Trina, tell us what we're doing here.
Sure. So the Open Hearts Foundation was started from all of that, from that inspiration as a movement to help others in the world, just to do what you can to help others. And so we fulfill our mission in two ways. So there's a grant making program that we've been giving, hundreds of thousands, of almost over $1 million since our inception. And our volunteerism program that was actually inspired by Katie's daughter. Jane's daughter, Katie. It's called Young Hearts. And the point of that is, even if you can't give money, if, being philanthropic is not something that you can do, you can still do something and volunteer your time or your talent and help someone else. And so we started with the Young Hearts volunteerism program back in 2017 and 2018. Last year, of course, we celebrated our 10-year anniversary. It was a fantastic, beginning of the year. We had a wonderful and beautiful gala. And then the COVID pandemic hit and the world changed. And so did we. But as you can hear from this very inspirational philosophy, it was a time of great challenge. And it was a time to accept it and do what we can to help others. And so we spent a large majority of 2020 raising money and providing immediate grants through our emergency relief fund, where we benefited 22 different charities across the United States, from foster children, children with incarcerated parents,
people who've been abused,
domestic violence victims. The COVID pandemic really impacted those populations because, what was a thin layer of support really became much worse. And so we focused our areas on women and children, formerly incarcerated women, children with incarcerated parents. We did our due diligence and our vetting process through our grant making program, and we granted over $284,000
just this year,
just from April to September of last year. And we really saw how much that made a difference because a lot of the charities that we focus on are emerging or growing, and so they're really walking the walk and talking the talk. And some of the charities that we supported were emergency stipends for groceries, clothing for those foster kids, personal hygiene products. Some really basic needs that were needed.
I think what we're most excited about is there are these huge, big charities, which I've been involved with and worked with, and you have too, you work for them. You're looking at it. Right. It's us and the most amazing volunteer board, of which Julie Gallo is one of our members. And we really kind of, we get it together, we make it happen, and we choose organizations where a small amount of money goes so far.
It really does.
And that's what we tell, people who join Open Hearts Foundation. We said, here, we're going to curate it for you. We're going to make sure that you can trust, who we picked and what we're doing. And then, if you see one of these organizations, you say, oh my God, I love that one. Feel free, one of the things we do is we kind of amplify their story.
We do.
And empower them to keep going. And
absolutely. We've shared their stories. We talk about the impact that they've made and focus on their work because they're the experts in their field. And then our volunteerism program last year really took off. Of course, we launched an open-hearted challenge that Jane was really helpful in inspiring others to do what they can to help in their communities. And it was anything from, picking the oranges off a tree and making orange juice for the community, or, some of our volunteers donated blood. There was a lot of different things that people did throughout the world. We also
throughout
hosted,
the world,
right, literally throughout the world. And then we hosted some virtual volunteerism events because we had to go virtual. A lot of the seniors were isolated because of the pandemic and they were very lonely. And so we selected 4 senior centers across the United States where our volunteers sent inspirational cards in the spring and then also in the holiday season. And that was incredible.
It was fun, but what we did is we actually had it as a live Zoom. So I was painting and drawing with them from all over the world. And we had so much fun. And just think of this, you could do that and serve some wine.
Yes.
That can only amplify the extraordinary artwork that comes out of it. And I also decided, what could I do? So I started teaching art to some old people who are stuck in old people's homes who were dying to paint. And I just had the best time with them and ended up with a lot of paintings. So then we decided to have a virtual art auction.
We did.
And we raised, I think, with a contribution, $75,000. Which
And
was pretty
all of
good.
those went directly to our grant making cycle in September. So there's a lot of different ways that charities can get involved, especially with wine.
Yes.
Wine is the best thing when it comes to a charitable event. It just makes things so much nicer.
And yes, and you know, and people love it when they're there and they can say, no, I'll raise you. I'll give 100, you know, I'll give more, you know, they're almost like in the room, and they know they don't have to, you know, travel anywhere or worry about drinking and driving because we're already here.
Right. So, I mean, as ambassadors of this wine, I'm sure, you know, we would always be open to opportunities to support our cause, of course, because that's what we're here to do. But if there are local charities within your communities that are hosting events like this, I'm sure they would love to have your wine, and then that would introduce your wine into their donors, their volunteers, and their network. So that might help you in your business, but it's definitely something that we look for.
Right. And I mean, you know, we can always think of incentive things, right, Jean-Charles? We can, I don't know if you want an autographed photograph for some reason, or an auction thing, or a scarf, or whatever it is. I mean, we can, you know, we can help. But we just really believe this image is so well known now, so well known. I mean, I'm probably more known for this than even half my movies. And by the way, I am still working. I'm about to go and do my own series. I'm going to be in Europe doing that and launching all kinds of new and exciting things. Other people have slowed down. I've had more work happen since the pandemic than I ever had before. I don't know why. Maybe when you hit a certain age, you're so old that now you're actually, you know, like fine wine.
Yes, absolutely.
You're back in the cultural hub of things. But
sure.
yeah, and you know, you can tell people that I literally adore wine. You know, it's one of those great moments in my day. That is when I stop, and I call it wine 30.
Yes,
I really do. And mercifully, I've never had a drinking problem. So I can have wine 30 whenever I like. And I just love it. And Jean-Charles put together the most fantastic wine for us. So it's not just a pretty bottle, and not just a great cause, and not just a great sales tool. It's something people are going to really love, and we just hope it catches on. And that the concept of living with an open heart and an open mind will catch on globally.
it really does. I mean, I've been collecting stories from our volunteers and from our donors who have gone through a hard time. One of them lost all of her grandparents in this COVID environment, but chose to take that adversity and do what she could to help others. And she couldn't paint, so she didn't join us on our virtual gatherings, but what she can do is sing. And so she collaborated with one of her musician friends and created a CD and took those CDs to senior centers in her local area. So everyone can do something, and you'll be surprised how many people are creative with their thoughts and their thinking, especially when it comes to a charity, because we're all looking to expand our missions and make a difference in this world, and that's where the passion comes from for what we're doing.
And I think, people have said, but what charities are they? Well, people can go to the Open Hearts Foundation website and see very specifically, which charities we've done. But we've done how many over the last 10, 12 years, 11 years?
It's over 50 now, for
50
sure.
different charities.
Yeah.
So, and all different kinds of things. And that's what's been great, rather than do just one thing on one specific charity, we have been able to amplify and support a wide range of organizations and of needs.
Yes, absolutely. There's so many different causes, and they're so grateful for the support. I have the pleasure and the honor of bestowing the good information when we tell them that their grant has been provided to them and it makes them a difference. And I mean, one of them was driving And she literally screamed in the car. I was like, are you okay? I was one of the executive directors, and the other one literally put me on hold for a minute so she could compose herself. So it really makes a difference. And you know, what we do is vet them. And as you can see, we're about accelerating purpose, about spreading the joy and serenity out in the world, and just bringing hope to people, whether it's, you know, baking a loaf of bread for your neighbor or giving thousands of dollars to support a charitable cause. It all really does make a difference. And hopefully that's what this wine stands for.
And, you know, we've also found that open hearts really speaks to people who've been through tough times.
Yes.
And we found a lot of times there'll be women or people who've been through cancer together, or they've, you know, had to share losing a child, God forbid, I mean, or whatever it is. But then a group of people, they become like family and they want to celebrate in some way. So this is another way they celebrate. They, you know, their hearts have been opened and they connect with someone else. So there's kind of open-hearted mission is, it's out there.
For sure. And as ambassadors, you can think strategically of how you would like to use your wine, you know, whether you're utilizing a VIP tasting as an auction item, and that will bring exposure to the wine for sure. Or if you want to, you know, host smaller events with it. I mean, if you just talk with the charity or you talk with, you know, brainstorm ideas, we come up with all kinds of ideas. Then you can come up with a lot of different ways to put this wine in different markets, to expose your brand, and in your community. There's a lot of different ways.
And we also find that, you know, people will know that when they buy this wine, that they are already giving to the Open Hearts Foundation.
Yes.
You know, so they're already benefiting, you know, up 22, well, at the moment, and counting different organizations. So,
yeah.
And they can look through there and go, wow, I didn't even think about that one. Oh, I really love that one. So it's not like they go, oh, I don't do Alzheimer's, or I don't do cancer, or I do, you know, they'll know that they are supporting things that they love, and they'll find plenty in there that they'll connect to.
For sure. And our plan this year, as the pandemic continues, is to continue our emergency relief fund and continue virtual volunteer events, because it had such an impact last year. And, you know, we were inundated with requests when we put the word out. There just was not enough money to go around. And so we know that even the charities that we did support would love to have a grant again, but even new ones that we're going to be considering this year, that's where the money is going to go. It's going to go directly to support women's and children's charities.
Oh, and she talked about Young Hearts, that my daughter Katie came up with this amazing app, which I think we're hoping getting the right person together to make it happen. We're already most of the way there. We've designed it and everything. Imagine a dating app, except you have organizations that have been vetted, you know, major charities and little charities as well, and what their needs are in terms of volunteers. And then underneath it are the vetted volunteers, and you put in your credentials, who you are, what you like, and then the algorithm will match you just like a dating app. And then you have the option to know where you can volunteer and when, and you know, whether you're the right person. So it's brilliant. It doesn't exist. We've already got, is it Volunteers of America who are
Volunteer Match. We have a partnership with Volunteer Match.
And we're hoping to take this ultimately global. So that's part of what Open Hearts Foundation is doing too. So it's even bigger than just the 20 charities.
Ladies, it is absolutely brilliant. And congratulations for giving us such an amazing presentation of, first, your passion, second, your dedication, third, your open heart, your own self, open heart, your sense of entrepreneurship, because you are doing it. It's present, progressive, and you're progressing over the last decades and more to do it and to make such a difference. And you're creating everyday memories and great differences. So we absolutely blessed, and on the behalf of all our ambassadors today that are with us and all the one that will obviously visit us and be part of Joy and Serenity, I just want to say thank you to the both of you for being such amazing people to do for others what you wish people would do with you and for you, and for being such contagious, magnetic inspirations, because that's what it takes.
Cheers.
So,
Cheers.
I cannot wait to taste, to drink, to promote the wines, and for all of us to give back to the open heart.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.